Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everybody. When I was young, a child, I always dreamed about being someone like a superhero, flying, like the powers with, for example, Superman. Handsome guy, all powerful, can go anywhere, everywhere, fighting for justice, fighting against evil. Things like a child wants to be. Maybe the girls wants to be superwoman. And I was thinking, I was like 10 years old, maybe 11, and visualize those movies, those marvels, and I see oh my God, look, if this is possible, imagine me with all these superpowers. Well, years has passed, and I get acquaintance with the Spiritist teachings. Actually, first was the Catholic Church, which brought me the base of the connection with the Creator, with Jesus. In the early ages, of course, everything was so not very ponderable, because we were taught to believe without understanding, like a blind faith. I'm not bashing the basics, the base of my faith, of course. But I understood that something else needed to be inside so I can develop the faith, the hope, and one day to be consoled, as we see in the Gospel of Matthew. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Well, years has passed, and the Spiritist teachings brought me something in a different conception of heroes with superpowers, that it's way beyond Superman. I was talking to Andrea a few years ago, and she wrote a book about superheroes. Actually, she's a writer. And we think about superpowers like Superman, Spider-Man, things like that. But she mentioned about the superpower that way much and way bigger than the material realm that we can make influence. And she mentioned in her book about this superhero by the name Jesus. Someone that goes beyond physical experiences, but someone that battles, that teaches us how to battle the frailties that we still carry inside of our hearts. And then I start reading more and more biographies of these kind of heroes that followed this man, uncomprehendable. Even nowadays, we don't understand how come such a faith, such a hope in the future can bring us a different level, a different stage of mind. So even though looking for the world outside with all the wars, all the egos, all the politicians, discord, and everything that we see left and right, we can still have hope in humanity. I was yesterday, I was oh my God, where should I say about this lecture? Faith, hope, and consolation. In Googling names that represent this kind of faith, this kind of hope, and brought a lot of consolation and comfort for a group of people, I found this woman. Cornelia Arnolda Johanna Corrie was a nickname, Corrie ten Boom. She was a Dutch watchmaker and later a Christian writer and public speaker who worked with her father Casper ten Boom, her sister Betsy ten Boom, and other members of the family. She was born in Holland, Netherlands, And she died in the United States exactly 91 years after. She was born in the same day. She will pass away exactly in the same day. She brought something. This is something, a quote that I liked. And I said, like, well, maybe I'm going to start like speaking about her. She's going to be my superhero of that Sunday. The wonderful thing about praying is that you leave a world of not being able to do something and enter God's realm where everything is possible. He, God, He specializes in the impossible. And nothing is too great for His almighty power. Nothing is too small for His love. Interesting. Because going back to my child years, I thought the superpower would be something that can fly over, fight with hands, like destroy matter, anything that related to something related to the strength, the power, physical power. But there's something else. There's a different kind of battle that woman thought the ones that were under her care. I'm going to read a little bit of her story. On a cold morning in February 1944, in the occupied city of Haarlem, Netherlands, the sound of boots echoed through the narrow streets. The World War II was tearing Europe apart, and the shadow of hatred grew darker each day. At the name of this street, it's difficult to pronounce, Barteljostrad, a modest watch shop stood seemingly ordinary, yet behind its clock and shelves it covered a refugee of faith, courage, and hope. There lived Corey, known as Corey, with her deeply Christian family, motivated by their belief in the value of every human life. The Ten Boom family joined the Dutch resistance, hiding and saving Jews from Nazi persecution. They built a secret room behind a false wall in Corey's bedroom, later known as the hiding place. Dozens, perhaps hundreds, found safety there, if only temporarily. Corey was already in her 50s when she became a central figure in this network of silent compassion. But light often provokes darkness. And on February 18, same year, 1944, the family was betrayed. The Gestapo raided the house. Corey and her sister Betsy and others were arrested. Miraculously, the Jews hidden in the secret room remained undiscovered. The sisters were imprisoned, first at Scheveningen and then Vught. This is all in Netherlands. And finally sent to Ravensbrück concentration camp in Germany, a place with deep suffering. In Ravensbrück, the cold was brutal, food was scarce, and hope seemed nearly impossible. And yet, Betsy, the sister of Corey, radiated unshakable faith. She used to whisper in that horrible place. She used to whisper in the dark, we must, Corey, we must tell people, we must show them that love is stronger than hate. Stronger than hate. In whispered voices. In trembling hands, Corey and Betsy read scriptures, prayed, and offered spiritual comfort to fellow prisoners. Their tiny light shone in the darkest place. Betsy grew weak and died in December 1944. But before passing, she said something that it's also very striking. There is no pit so deep that God's love is not deeper still. Shortly after Corey was released due to a clerical error, days later, all women her age in the camp were executed. Her release was, as she would say, a miracle of divine grace. Corey now returned to Netherlands with her heart heartbroken, but still alive. She would go on to travel and to the world because her sister Betsy says, you have to tell if you escaped from this prison, and I know and I have faith that you will escape. You have to tell the world that love is way much bigger than hate. And people should have faith in God, have hope, and the consolation will come. It's not our time, it's God's time. And the most powerful moments in her life and Corey's life came when a former guard from Havensbroek, now a Christian, asked her for forgiveness. Of course, forgiveness is kind of difficult, especially in situations like that. But Corey hesitated, but reached out her hand and forgave her. And she stated once in one of her books, to forgive is to set a prisoner free and discover that the prisoner was you. Take a picture. What is faith that moves mountains? We're going to see, and we can dive into chapter 19 of the Gospel according to Spiritism. It brings faith moves mountains. This was a phrase that Jesus brought to the apostles. And one of the items very well described in the same chapter 19, that faith moves mountains. We're going to see that faith is the mother of hope and charity. It gives perseverance, energy, and the ability to overcome obstacles. And in the same chapter, we see that this faith has to be active because it brings us an inner force plus the action, the connection that we all have, but we need to turn on the power of this connection with the immense and infinite source, which is God. The superpower that I once are willing to have watching Superman's movie, now we all have. Very latent, very there. Sometimes difficult to access, but since we are all sons and daughters of the Creator, of course it's possible. It strengthens the courage and the patience, turns suffering to growth. And of course, with the Spiritist teachings, in observance of the divine laws, we understand that everything has a reason, because immortal spirits are going to live on forever and ever. And the gospel also, according to Spiritism, on the item 11, it brings one specific portion that I like it very much. It says, like faith, the mother of hope and charity, because in order to be profitable, faith must be active. It must not grow numb. Mother of all the virtues that lead to God, it must watch carefully over the development of children it generates. Hope and charity are a consequence of faith. These three virtues form an inseparable trinity. Is it not faith that provides the hope of seeing the Lord's promises fulfilled? Because if you do not have faith, what do you hope for? Is it not faith that provides love? If we don't trust the Almighty, and I'm not saying this in the blind way of the way that I used to see faith in the other religions. I'm not I'm not bashing the other religions. It's a stage that we sometimes need to go through. But now we have this rational faith showing us that we are going life after life, acquiring the strongness, the patience, overcoming the obstacles of course, that needs to be presented to us because there's a law of cause and effect. And since one day we cause something, the effect is naturally coming to us so we can understand the consequences, action and reaction. Corrie ten Boom, she lived with faith in the face of horror. But especially Betsy, her sister, she was the base of Corrie, repeating and repeating that true and sincere faith is always calm. Corrie is always calm. Believe in God. It gives patience and certainty about the future. She helped high Jews in Nazi occupy Holland, arrested, imprisoned, sent to Ravensbrück, comforted fellow prisoners with prayer and scripture, released miraculous, saved by faith. Always with faith. There's one portion that I brought over here. It shows in the same chapter, chapter 19, Faith Moves Mountain. And Allan Kardec brings this to us. Sincere and true faith is always calm. It provides the patience that knows how to wait, because having its point of support in the mind and in the understanding of things, it carries the certainty of arriving at its objective. She was, Corrie, a flower that grows amidst ruins. How come we can have faith in such a place, in such a horror? And sometimes we see like, what is my horizon? Maybe death, maybe the gas chamber, whoever, who knows exactly. But how come someone, even in places like that, can have this kind of faith and hope in the future and being this instrument of peace, like St. Francis of Assisi always proclaimed, be an instrument of peace where there is darkness, light, where there is despair, hope, where there is he was asking to console much more than wishing to be consoled. And we see how come the superheroes spread around the history of humanity can have such a strong power within, because deep inside they know that they are at the, I would say at the mercy, maybe it's not the good word, they are at the mercy of the God. And God is immensely merciful. And the certainty that life goes on, the certainty that we have that we're not going to die, we can be these instruments spreading hope and consolation to so many. So, strong faith is always calm. We already read this on the portion of the Gospel in chapter 19. Those who have it trust in God and await His will. Hope, light that never dies. It's not an illusion. It's not an illusion, because people sometimes think like, oh, you have faith, you have hope, It's an illusion because you're so child. The world has no solution. It's an illusion. No, it's not an illusion. It's a spiritual strength because we're putting our strength in our true nature, which is spiritual. This is simply, this is going to die, it's going to decompose, hopefully not today, but it's going to die, it's going to decompose. One day I'm going to be like bearing under the earth. I hope it's going to take a while so I can, yes. But, huh? A long time, yes. That's why I trust in the divine providence. Grows with faith and nourishes the soul. And repeating what Betsy, Corey's sister, says, the words that's still echoing in the hearts of Corey, there is no pit so deep that God's love is not deeper still. There's one saying of Viktor Frankl, the psychology. He was an Austrian neurologist, psychologist, philosopher, and a Holocaust survivor who founded logotherapy, a school of psychotherapy that describes the search for life's meaning as the central human motivational force. And Viktor Frankl stated that his view hope as the conscious choice to maintain a meaningful purpose, even amidst suffering in a hopeless situation, which is essential for survival and human dignity. But he said something else. He said, and I put here in some quotes, even when external circumstances are dire, Viktor Frankl believed people retain the freedom to choose their response. This freedom to choose attitude allows for the rise of hope because it acknowledges that while external factors can be taken away, the individual's inner spirit and ability to respond cannot be defeated. In the concentration camp, Frankl witnesses that those who maintain a sense of purpose and thus hope had a better chance of survival. Without hope, says Viktor Frankl, and a reason for the future, individuals often gave up and their bodies followed their spirit. He also says, hope enables individuals to transform personal tragedies into triumph. Because by focusing on a future goal and maintaining hope, individuals can find meaning even in seemingly meaningless suffering, a concept that Viktor Frankl named tragic optimism. Tragic optimism. And then going through all these process, the faith, the hope, we have a solid reason to develop this hope, the faith. Faith, it's the mother of hope and charity. And I would say, as a consequence, the consolation. And then Jesus mentioned that he would send us a promised consoler. And this promised consoler is the Spiritist teachings that illuminates our mind and clarifies, not showing us this blind faith, not showing us that we have to trust, to hope in an illusion. No, there is a sequence of events that it's naturally inviting us to develop certain abilities And these abilities that we are developing, making the connection with the Almighty and the good spirits, we don't understand how some people, certain people, can have this strength. They can overcome obstacles that seems impossible for maybe the vast majority of humanity. But we see in the pages of the history the story of heroes, men and women, all kind of religions, all kind of creeds, all kind of ethnicians that overcome themselves and promote inside of their hearts and their spirit such a connection with the divine, that this connection was so powerful that irradiates and gives consolation to so many in the face of the earth, at least in the ambience that they are inserted. If you love me, says on the Gospel of John chapter 14, if you love me, said one Jesus, keep my commandments, and I will pray to my Father, and he will send you another consoler, so that he may remain with you forever. The Spirit of truth, whom the world cannot receive, because it neither sees him nor knows him. But as for you, you will know him, because he will remain with you and will be among you. But the Consoler, who is the Holy Spirit, whom my Father will send in my name, will teach you all things and will enable you to remember everything that I have said to you. Consolation. Because blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. We suffered without understanding why, but the promised consoler, which is the Spiritist teachings, explains us there's a effect by the causes that we did in the past, action and reactions. It's not only a law of physics explained by Isaac Newton. It's a law that regulates the material world and actually the moral world. And we understand, but there's another variable added to this law of cause and effect, action and reaction. This new variable that Jesus brought to us is the immense mercy of the Almighty. And this immense mercy connects us with a power that we don't understand. And the child that I was once before thought was related to something, to Superman, to superpower. But there's something that it is inside of me, deep inside, not of me, inside of everyone's heart. And once we turn on this, we plug in this connection, you will see the power that you have, even living and facing the most difficult obstacles that you're challenging your life nowadays. You will see that there is hope. So the faith, it's not anymore a blind faith. It's a rational faith, because we understand that this unshakable faith, it's the only that which can face reason in all human epochs. Was stated in the same chapter 19. Now we understand why we believe, we have faith, we have hope, and the consolation and the comfort is coming to us. It's going to knocking our door, but it has to be provoked, has to be initiated by the will that we can develop with the connection with the Creator. There is one passage here that I wanted to read, because it's on the book Good News By the end of the chapter, the last chapter of the book, Good News, psychographed by Francisco Cândido Xavier and dictated by the spirit Humberto de Campos, chapter 30, it's Mary. Beautiful chapter. And now the book is translated to English. You have to read. And I extract a little portion of this book and make like a little adaptation so we can understand the power of the influence of the good spirits that inspire us even in the darkest moments of our life. As dawn broke over the earth, the soul of Mary of Nazareth rose to the heavens, surrounded by angelic hosts, singing hymns of light. It was the final moments of Mary, Mother of Jesus. She was already departing. Although she no longer saw her beloved Son, Jesus, she felt certain he awaited her in the kingdom of love. Before continuing her ascent, her heart turned back to the world. She wished to comfort, to console the followers of Jesus, those persecuted and imprisoned, awaiting martyrdom in the darkness of Roman dungeons. Moved by her compassion, Mary descended into the shadowy prisons of Esquiline Hill. There, among the forgotten and condemned, she became a mother once more, embracing their pain, praying their prayers, and spreading the soft radiance of her spirit. She felt herself the mother of that assembly tortured by the world's injustice. She comforted elders, women, and young and youth, each one clinging to the gospel with an unwearying hope. Wishing to leave behind a final gift, she remembered that Jesus had not promised escape from suffering, but strength through it. Whoever wants to follow me, carry your cross and follow me. So she prayed to leave them not freedom, but joy. Approaching a pale and fragile young woman, she whispered gentle, "Sing, my child, sing, my child, in spirit. Let us be of good cheer. Let us turn our earthly sorrows into joys for heavens." Then the young prisoner, touched by an inexplicable peace, lifted her eyes to the stars and sang a hymn of love and gratitude to Jesus. One by one, in that prison, and other voices joined her, filling the prison with songs of hope and courage. Soon after, the radiant spirit processing carried Mary to the kingdom of Master, and from that day forward, even in the harshest trials, the disciples of Jesus have sung on earth, preserving the gentle legacy of our most holy Mother. Humberto de Campos, by the end of this book, brings us a reflection. When you hear sacred songs echoing in the churches of the world, make silence in your heart so that the mystic Rose of Nazareth may fill it with her fragrance. There is hope for each and every one of us, and we don't have a minimum idea. When we make this connection with the divine source, the parental source of humanity, which is God, what kind of forces invades our spirit, lifted us from the shadow that we used to be, and connect us with hope and the consolation and the comfort that one day will reside forever and ever in our spirit, are going to proclaim a new era in humanity. Yes, outside of our world, it seems everything is out of control. I understand that it's difficult to understand. It's difficult to envision something like a light in the horizon that can give us hope, a consolation, a light, something that says like, no, everything is under control. I know it's difficult to envision this, but there is a plan that we might not be seeing because our vision is very limited, but there is a plan. And this plan is guided and directed by the divine forces of love that awaits patiently so we can go through all the process of trials and expiation. So one day, going through this process, we never more commit this kind of crime. Crime against ourselves, crimes against others, in proclaiming a new era of peace in the face of the earth. Let's have faith. Let's have hope, because the consolation, it's waiting for us. And the Spiritist teachings bring us good clarification, what needs to be done if we resist the evil that it still resides inside of our hearts, and proclaim again, copy the words of St. Francis of Assisi, make me an instrument of your peace. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give unto you. Not as the world giveth, give I unto you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. Let's not be afraid. Be an instrument of peace. Comfort more than wish to be comfort others. Console where there is darkness. Be the one that brings light. The darkness that it still resides inside of us has to be illuminated by hope that it's waiting for us in the comfort of Jesus, in the heart of our God. May the peace of the Lord be with us. Maybe this is an old priest from the past with a lot of emotions, but with a true feeling and sentiment and trust and believing that it's possible. We all are possible to do great things, wonderful things, but we have to believe. And when we believe, we have faith in the spiritual nature that we are. We are way much bigger than we think. We can do what Jesus did and much more. This is not my words. This was Jesus' word. Let's embrace it. Let's bring this to us. Let's be sons and daughters, real sons and daughters of the Almighty. Much peace.